Good evening, everyone. Severe Weather Team 9 meteorologist Nathan Shah joining you for this edition of Nate at 8. Thanks so much for joining me and welcome. We're talking about a lot of the same as we've had here as of recent, just continuing as we go throughout the week. The big changes, though, with respect to what we had for Monday, Tuesday, as we look ahead for the latter part of this week, is the sunshine. So we're going to spot even more of it, already dealing with some of it the past couple of days, but spotting even more of it as we go into the weekend. Dry conditions hold, warm afternoons, cool nights. Similar story in that regard, but that's going to be the biggest change we're noticing here near term is spotting more of that sunshine breaking out across the area. So beautiful few days ahead for us. We'll notice more clouds spilling by this weekend, and that will be accompanied by a slight chance for some rain. It's going to be more Sunday. Again, keep in mind, slight is going to be the key word. So the vast majority of us still likely remain dry as we go through Sunday, but could we spot a stray shower in the area by Sunday? It's possible, but again, certainly no high rain threats, and the vast majority of us likely stay bone dry again for this week. We're in quite a stretch now across the area in double digits, 10 days in a row, no measurable precipitation in the Wheeling-Ohio County Airport, and this just continues here. It'll be over 2 weeks before we at least have a slight chance of rain back in the forecast, but we could very well have to wait until next week before we have a chance to at least see some showers. Better odds to at least see some showers returning. But again, we're likely going to have to wait some time before we do get back to that mark. Our current temperatures right now across the area are into the 70s. Some locations now cooling into the 60s. And as typical, again, when we deal with a little, at least some cloud cover, but no cloudy skies, right? At least some clearing. In addition to a light to calm wind and dry air, you get these big temperature swings this time of the year. And we're seeing these temperatures drop off quickly in the evening. And we'll see those temperatures fall back in the 50s, despite highs being into the 80s for this afternoon. These clouds spilling into the area is with a system that's staying towards our east, a low pressure system, and close enough to again get some cloud cover, but not close enough to pick up on any rain. We're going to be staying dry as we go throughout the night. Again, just dealing with some passing clouds. By tomorrow, as the system pulls away, this is when we're going to start to spot likely more of that sun breaking out, and those high temperatures again, mid-lower 80s with more sunshine for your Wednesday. Still some clouds in the mix, but likely more on the sun side of that equation for Wednesday with respect to today and yesterday. By Thursday and Friday, then, is when we're getting back to a lot of sunshine. So barely a cloud in sight by Thursday as well as Friday. And those hot temperatures likely end up back well into the 80s, mid-upper 80s likely across the area. Yeah, those low temperatures, those temperatures fall about 30 degrees. Likely we'll have a big temperature swing during those days. So even despite highs well in the 80s, still anticipated to drop into the 50s for those following mornings. And again, temperature difference is likely on the order of 30 degrees for those 2 days, especially when we're dealing with clear skies. Again, not much cloud cover at all in place Thursday and Friday before we do eventually see some more clouds spill back in. Again, that will occur for Saturday. We'll deal with that increase in cloud cover, and that's when we'll start to see more of those clouds spill into the area, and then more of a mix of sun and clouds for Sunday. So even for Saturday morning, still spotting some sun before we notice more clouds build in throughout the day, and then Sunday is more partly cloudy skies as we go throughout the day. Good evening, Austin. Today was another hot day. Surprised to see a bee on a camera during the live weather this noon. You never know what you'll see during a live forecast. Absolutely. We look through the lens of those tower cams, and yeah, we can sometimes spot some friends joining us on those tower cams. But yeah, sometimes it can catch you a little off guard when there's some bees or wasps or hornets, whatever wants to show up and greet us on those tower cams, and even sometimes some spiders. Even some spiders on some tower cams at times. So you never know. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, Austin. Yeah, never know what you'll see pop up on those cameras. That's for sure from time to time. But again, some beautiful weather here near term. A lot more sunshine the next 3 days. And before we see more clouds build back in for the weekend. Again, by Sunday is when the least slight chance for shower returns, but this is still very dry as we go through the weekend. Not much precipitation in sight, and this is still just a continuation of an overall dry pattern. It does not look to change here near term. As we look ahead even to next week, yes, I do think with the cold front passage, we will be dealing with at least some showers. Is it going to be enough rain to put a real hindrance on the progression of this drought? No. I don't think so. No, I think the drought conditions you'll see with the latest drought monitor issue for this Thursday, it's going to continue to get worse. Again, we have had no measurable precipitation over the past week, and it's going to continue to get worse for this latest U.S. drought monitor issue this Thursday. And even for next Thursday, even taking into consideration some of that rain arriving early next week, I think with a cold front passage that even then, I just think that conditions are going to continue to get worse. Yes, there can be some rain, but I don't think it's going to be enough to prevent this drought from continuing to just get worse. Unfortunately, there's some rain again with that cold front passage, which, as you can see, with the temperatures cooling, is around next Tuesday into Wednesday, as we'll deal with some showers and with that frontal passage. But again, just not enough. Just not enough. And even then, as it stands now, the rainfall amounts look light with those showers. So certainly it's good that we have something, right? I mean, we'll take any rain we can get, but we just need more. Unfortunately, even with some rain chances next week, this is still a dry pattern next week. A lot of the time next week is still dry and it's still warm. I know there's obviously a cool down, but we're still holding likely closer to 80 for high, upper 70s. That's still above that normal high, which is about mid 70s. And as we get further into September, closer to October, it even falls lower 70s. So mid lower 70s for the second half of September is the range for your normal highs. And we're still above that. We're getting back closer to seasonable values, but this is still a warm pattern again next week and still a dry pattern again for next week. And the long range forecast still just favor the dry and above normal temperatures again, even going into the end of the month. So there's good odds that we're still trending dry and warm even as we wrap up the month of September. Keep in mind, again, those normal highs start to fall closer to 70. So even above normal temperatures, mid upper 70s is still above normal. It doesn't necessarily equate to tracking 80 plus days all the way into October 1st. We certainly can still see some 80-degree days in the mix. But yes, just in general, going to be a warm pattern likely that remains in place. So if you're hoping for what we had at the end of August, beginning of this month, where we had more of a taste of fall with some cool days, likely going to have to wait until we even get into October. There's good odds they're going to have to wait until October before we could start to see temperatures more reminiscent of what we had at the end of August and beginning of this month with those cool afternoons. Because here near term over the next 10 days, as we even look towards the at the end of the month, that it's still just looking unseasonably warm as we look ahead going into the end of September. So again, to wrap things up in your 9+1 day forecast, lots of sunshine returning, especially Thursday, Friday. We're likely to see barely a cloud in sight. A few clouds still in the mix Wednesday, but we'll start to spot more sun tomorrow than what we had for today and yesterday. And then barely a cloud in sight, likely Thursday, Friday into Saturday morning. And then we'll see that increase in cloud cover throughout the day Saturday, a mix of sun and clouds returning Sunday. So Sunday can be more reminiscent of what we had for today. By Monday, same story, mix of sun and clouds. I think a little better odds by next Monday to see that stray shower in our area. And then Tuesday to Wednesday. So again, just it's a matter of a time. The precise timing of that frontal passage still looks to be more around Tuesday into Tuesday night of next week is when we'll deal with some showers with that frontal passage. Again, not a whole lot of rain, but at least it's something. And I think there's good odds for at least some showers returning to our area in that time period going to the middle of next week. Once we get behind that front, likely more sun will break back out and those high temperatures will be still near 80. Maybe we'll start to climb back into the 80s at that point. Again, that cold front passage is not going to bring in and usher a pattern change, right? It's not going to usher in much cooler temperatures, but we will likely return at least closer to more seasonable values looking ahead going into the latter part of next week. So even a sneak peek or an early look into the Barnesville Pumpkin Festival into next Thursday, Friday, that following weekend. Hopefully at that point, we'll start to see temperatures get back closer to more seasonable values for a fall festival, right? And I know a lot of years have passed that if you've gone to the Barnesville Pumpkin Festival of years past, and I frequently go and certainly can remember some very warm pumpkin festivals have passed. And this could be one of those years where it's going to be quite warm on us with those high temperatures in the 80s, quite possible still going into that time period. It does look like the weather overall looks nice at that around that time period. even for the weigh-in on Wednesday with those showers. Even if, even Tuesday, it's certainly not a washout with that, but we'll at least have some showers, hopefully return for us. Some much needed rain, hopefully at least a little bit coming our way around that time period into the middle of next week. Thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. I hope everyone has had a wonderful week so far. Again, soaking up some of that sun at times, and we'll soak up even more of it over the next few days. It's going to be a gorgeous stretch of weather. More clouds by the weekend, but still cooperating for any outdoor plans you have for the weekend. And well, next week, it's still cooperating. Again, there's not much rain in the forecast, and we are in desperate need of it. Again, we're already dealing with even severe drought for a portion of the area, and we'll likely see that severe drought expanding in coverage coming up this Thursday with the latest U.S. drought monitor. As these drought conditions are progressively getting worse fast. So it's a fast progression with as dry as it's been. Keep in mind, we discussed this yesterday. The past 50 days have been the driest period of 50 days for the Wheeling area in almost 20 years. We have to go back to 2007, the last that was comparable, almost 20 years ago. Little over an inch, almost an inch and a tenth. It was 1.08, I believe, inches is our total at the Ohio County Airport over the past 50 days. Well, it'd be 51 days now. Over the past 50 days, looking at that statistic yesterday, and again, that's the driest period in terms of the lowest total precipitation over 50 days in nearly 20 years. I have to go back to 2007 to find anything comparable over a 50-day period. Yes, this 50-day stretch, the end of July, now continuing through the middle of September. This is the driest stretch of weather that we've had here in the Valley, dating back in almost 20 years. I know the drought at this point, it's not to the point we had at times for last year, but unfortunately, that's where we're trending. And unfortunately, we're going in that direction again, we did not have anything like last year over this 50-day stretch, or since the end of July, now through the middle of September. We did not have this dry of a stretch last year, which I know, again, we associate last year with how dry it was, but we did not have this dry of a stretch, what we're dealing with right now at any point until last year. And this year we did have more of a wet late spring into early summer. It was a wet period of weather that we had during that point before it turned dry on us. And now it's turning dry and fast and quite turning just extremely dry. Really, there's no other way to put it. And the statistics back that up with as dry as it's been here as of recent, the driest stretch we've had here, and again, nearly 20 years for us here in the Ohio Valley. So it's certainly a staggering statistic. And as we look ahead again, unfortunately, there is just very little relief in sight. The overall dry pattern just continues. Hopefully we can at least get a little bit of rain looking ahead into next week. Thanks again so much for joining me. Catch me coming up News Night at 10 on Fox 9. News Night tonight at 11 for the latest. And as always, for the next edition of Nate at 8. I hope you had a wonderful week so far. Again, I hope you have a wonderful night. And I'll see all of you on the next edition of Nate at 8.